Okay, I'm doing this video to explain my movie idea, Bike Wars. Okay, so it's kind of a comedy. Well, it's definitely funny and kind of like a eccentric way. Um, so there is a guy, the hero of the story, his name is Isaac, and he owns a bike shop. The bikes are affordable and good bikes, and he helps people out. He's one of those kind of good guys, right? Um, sells the bikes really cheap, dirt cheap. So anyway, he's also part of a bicycle coalition, which is to make Los Angeles more bicycle friendly, etc. And he has an invisible nemesis within the political system that wants to sort of shut him down. And he's not really aware of this nemesis at first. And this nemesis is a political person who is controlled by more powerful political people who are putting pressure on him to sort of make it hard for people like Isaac to run a business. Isaac also does bicycle taxi as a business in Santa Monica, in addition to running his bike shop, because he does not make enough money to support himself, which is the bike shop. And at one point, like, the nemesis actually punctures his tire while he's working, but that's later on in the movie. Another plot is that there's a trust fund punk rock kid who lives in a warehouse. He acts like he's squatting and he acts like he's roughing it, but in actuality his father owns the warehouse. And he has one part of the warehouse for show where it's all got some kind of rough punk rock thing going on, but then in the other part of the warehouse he's got like some really nice kind of setup for parties and stuff like that for his friends. Anyway, his father makes him take a job at a pizzeria that's owned by his father's cousin, and he doesn't really work very hard at it, and within a few weeks he decides he doesn't want to work there anymore, so he quits. And then he sees a article in the LA Weekly about Isaac and his bicycle shop, and he decides that he wants to start his own bicycle shop. So what he decides to do is hit his dad up for money. His dad gives him money, so he starts a bike shop, but what he does is he keeps buying out Isaac's supply of bikes, and then he'll have like some street artist sort of paint the bike, and then he'll mark up the bike in his vintage bike shop downtown to sort of techies and people with a lot of money. So what happens is he's making the demand go up for these bikes, because he's, at first, like, it's not known that he is the one buying them all, because he has certain people go pick up a bunch of bikes and trucks and stuff like that, and bring them to him. So he's got this big like art bike warehouse where he sells them for really drastically increased prices. And then there's a weekly article about him and how he's doing these bike gigs. And so then Isaac realizes why he's selling so many bikes, and he goes to the guy's shop, and he sees the guy not only like selling these bicycles for like really inflated prices, but also renting them out to tourists for inflated prices. And he's just bewildered, and like he's like, can't believe that the guy's making that much money. But he also feels kind of like he's letting down his clientele, because he keeps not having enough bikes left over to sell to his customers. Um, so then what happens is he's having like a meeting at his coalition, and there's all kinds of people that have different issues. You know, one person is angry about the lack of bike lanes. One person's angry that they can't use a drive-through on their bike, but you can use one for your cars. And then there's like a Ralph Smart type of character who's kind of calming everybody down. And then Isaac kind of does a whole kind of impassioned speech where he talks about LA becoming like the United Nations of bikers, but there's bikers from all over the world here, and that we have to all get along and we have to use our differences for the good instead of for the bad. And what happens is a political nemesis has sent one of his spies to this meeting, and Nemesis is listening in, and so he has the electricity turned off in the building during the meeting. So anyway, he keeps on trying to sabotage Isaac, and yet Isaac is actually doing pretty well between but then he has a moral quandary where he's like, I don't know if I can keep selling my bikes to this guy, you know. And then another thing is the LA Weekly, when they put the article about the this punk rock guy, it kind of makes him look like a hero, even though in actuality the guy can't even ride a bike. And what the Nemesis decided to do is create a sort of a controlled opposition opportunity with this punk rock guy, where we kind of make him the bicycle hero and ambassador of bicycles, but then we'll kind of like discredit the movement by like giving the guy everything you kind of spoiling the guy, giving him everything he wants, then kind of, you know, watching him fall, sort of maybe going into rehab or something like that, so to discredit the movement. And then so it's just this back and forth war. And then what happens is the Nemesis and is kidnapped, and he thinks he's gonna die. These guys take him, these Danny Trejo type of tough guys take him out. They think he thinks that they're gonna kill him, but instead he makes them eat a wild cactus plant, and it causes them to have this wild hallucination of like this big tree-like guy on a bike, you know, who comes to him in a dream and tells him that he's being an asshole, that he needs to change his ways, you know. And he kind of goes through this whole recollection in his consciousness about the past, and it shows you how he actually started out as a good guy, but his insecurities kind of brought him down a bad road. So the Nemesis actually completely changes his direction, and he's supposed to go to an important meeting, but instead he's going to Isaac's shop with an old bicycle that he wants to repair. And so his little spy guy takes his position, kind of foists him out. So anyway, at this point, I don't really know what happens next, actually, because I just started writing it today. But this is... So we kind of have like a scenario here where it's partly just a story from my imagination, but it's partly also a way of talking about the realities of how hard it is to, you almost have to be a rebel to be a bicyclist in Los Angeles. And yeah, anyway.